The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend R. Douglas Gonzalez, Centenary United Methodist Church, Lynchburg, Virginia. The senators will remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Senate Page Mara Elise Suravel.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we gather today in this moment in the 400th anniversary year of our Commonwealth, and tragically aware that it's the 400th year anniversary of the beginning of the human trafficking that was part of that long history. We're wrenchingly aware of all of that. And, but loving God, this day is weighty with possibility. May all that is done and said honor you, as these elected men and women in good conscience discern with humility a way forward. As the public light shines brightly upon this body, in this moment grant the wisdom you have promised, for in your economy of justice and truth, undergirded by mercy and grace, both what we do and how we go about the task will ramify our history before a world watching on tiptoe to see if new hope can be instantiated through truth and reconciliation, redemption and restoration. We are reminded that 90 years ago last month, 210 years ago today, you gave us undeserved gifts in the personages of Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln, who have become martyrs to this very issue. So we could do worse than to be reminded of their words from Dr. King, that every person is heir to a legacy of dignity and worth. Every person has rights that neither conferred or are derived from the state, but are God-given. And as Lincoln reminded us just before his death, let us move forward with malice toward none, charity to all, firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, bind up the nation's wounds, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves. In the name of the Prophet of Nazareth, who relentlessly invites us to wholeness and truth. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll. All those present will record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Monday, February 11, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Suravel, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
I'd respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes a time In the morning hour, we have the honor and privilege of welcoming our distinguished guests here in the Senate gallery. I will give my daily reminder that the way this will proceed is that a senator will stand up and recognize an individual or group. I will then offer the warm welcome of the Senate, and at the very end, we will all clap together. And I'd like to begin by calling on a senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, the senator from James City, Senator Norman, senator from Hampton, Senator Locke, and I work very hard to promote the arts on the Virginia Peninsula. And each year I have an art contest, and we have professionals in the community come and pick, because you don't want me picking the art, Mr. President. As much as I like it, I'm not sure that I know which one to pick and which one not to. But each year we have more participants. This year, 60, 70 participants, and they're joining us today in the gallery, Mr. President. Our K-3 winner, Gabriella Tackett, with her father, Garrett Tackett. And Mr. President, this year we had a tie in the 4th and 5th grades. That shows you how competitive it is. Stella Richardson with her mom, dad, and sister. Wendy, Timothy, and Lola are with us. Jamie Ben Fratter with her mom and dad, Bonnie and John and Fratter. And our middle school winner, Caitlin Shaw, with her mom and dad, Jesse and Noriko. Mr. President, they're enjoying a fun day in our office and going to tour the Capitol, and I hope you'll offer them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Yeah. Good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. You deserve 2 rounds of applause. We're going to wait till the very end next time. But would our winners of Senator Mason's art contest and your families and guests please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Congratulations to our wonderful winners in each category. Each one of you is a winner, and all the participants really, I'm sure, benefited from this great contest. Senator Mason, Senator Locke are passionate about the arts and about education and for our children and what that means for the future of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So you should walk around here today with a lot of pride, and we will all get a chance to congratulate you. And I would ask everybody to please join me in sending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our winners from Senator Mason's art contest. Yes, you were on TV. Did you say that? Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Visiting us in the gallery today is the Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition, and they've joined us today to tour the Capitol, to meet with their representatives, and to consider running for office themselves. So I hope you'll welcome them, as everybody in the body is.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you also for your participation in our democratic process. We really rely on high-quality people like you to get involved, to make our Commonwealth better. And I know the Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan, is very proud of the work that you're doing and will continue to do. And we look forward to all the leadership you'll provide here in Virginia. So I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from the Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition. The Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we were led in our invocation by the Honorable Reverend R. Douglas Gonzalez of Centenary United Methodist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia. Reverend Gonzalez has been a pastor for over 40 years, and for the last 5 has had the very unenviable task of keeping the Peake family online spiritually and in many other ways. As you heard in his invocation, every Sunday is a wonderful sermon and recitation of our values, and I ask the Senate to give him a warm welcome.
I thank the Senator. Would Reverend Douglas Gonzalez please rise in the gallery? Reverend Gonzalez, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you for that really eloquent and brilliant, beautiful prayer. I thought it was incredibly thoughtful and deep and exactly what we all needed to hear at this moment in the Commonwealth of Virginia's history and the history of this nation. And it was very uplifting and empowering. And I'm sure that Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, benefits, he and his family, from your moral leadership, as do many other people. We are grateful for it. We welcome you back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Reverend Gonzalez. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of introduction, sir.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, it is indeed my privilege to ask you to extend an extraordinary warm welcome from the Senate of Virginia to an exceptional group of young ladies and young men who are in the gallery from Virginia Military Institute. Mr. President, I would know it would shock you, in spite of my youthful appearance, that exactly 50 years ago, last year, I graduated from VMI. And when I went back to for my 50th reunion, I was amazed at how the institution has changed since I have been there, both physically and in the composition of its core. But I was also trying to figure out who all these old men were with me, with my youthful exuberance. VMI was founded in 1839, but in 1968, when I graduated, there were approximately 900 students, cadets at VMI. I would say that it has changed remarkably since then, and right now there are 1,750 cadets at VMI, some which have evolved as a result of growing by degrees, which a number of you will remember. Every cadet during their RAT or freshman year has to walk through one particular arch that leads into the barracks at VMI, and over that arch is the resolution that says, you may be whatever you resolve to be. And that is a motto that sticks with those of us who graduate from VMI for life. And I share with you that what VMI cadets, these young women and these young men, resolve to be. They resolve to be extraordinarily well educated. Right now, over 50% of the curriculums from VMI are in the STEM categories. They resolved to be leaders. When I was there in 1968, they were training leaders to be second lieutenants to participate in a very unpopular war in Vietnam. Times have changed, and they're still educating and producing leaders, and I would suggest to you, Mr. President, that they are leaders on a national level and on a state level. They are resolved to be dedicated to the Commonwealth of Virginia and this nation. It may surprise you that in this day and age, more than 60% of the graduates of VMI are accepting commissions in the armed forces of the United States of America. I would further say, Mr. President, that they are all here today to express their appreciation to everybody in state government for the higher education support that they have received. But I want to emphasize to you that our dollars are providing an extraordinary education to these young women and these young men, and they have been recognized nationally as the 9th best value cost of an education in the United States of America. So I would ask you to extend a very warm welcome to these extraordinary young women and men.
I thank the Senator. Would our leaders from VMI in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are honored by your presence, by your service, and I couldn't say it any more eloquently than the Senator from James City County, who is a proud alum of VMI, a phenomenal institution that produces leaders for the Commonwealth and for the country and for the world. And I see a handful of them standing before us right here today. So we are deeply honored to have you in the Senate. We wish you nothing but the best in your careers and in your lives, and know that you go with our thanks and our praise. I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from VMI. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, in the gallery today is someone who is very near and dear to my heart. In fact, she calls herself my mom. And anybody who knows me knows that I lost my mom a few years ago. And while Madam Clerk fills in for me down here, I think Miss Shirley Johnson in the balcony. He takes care of me back at home. And she's here with the Fredericksburg City Schools, the Head Start program, and a bunch of moms from that program. And, Mr. President, I'm supposed to tell you, Miss Johnson wants me to tell you hi personally, and that she's praying for you. And if you'll give them the warm welcome of the Senate and thank them for enduring I-95 to come all the way down here today, I appreciate it.
I thank the Senator very much. Would Shirley Johnson and our leaders from the Fredericksburg City Schools Head Start program please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us once again here. It is always a privilege and a pleasure and an honor to have you here. Shirley, it's always wonderful to see your beautiful face and your beautiful spirit. Thank you for all that you do for so many. And thank each of you for investing in our young people, for making sure that no matter where they start, they get a shot to rise, a high-quality education, good health care, and access to a bright future, which is what this is all about. So you're doing the work every single day to provide that opportunity. I like to call it spiritual wealth to our young people, no matter how much money their family may or may not have. And so you're doing the Lord's work. We support you 100%. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished leaders. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Staff.
Good morning, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, today we have a constituent and a business owner from he's a constituent in my district and a business owner in Senator Wagner's district. His name is John Anderson. This is his first time visiting the Capitol. He's the president of JMA Construction, and we had a good conversation earlier today, Mr. President, and we just want to give the warm welcome of the Senate to Mr. John Anderson in his first visit to the Capitol.
I thank the Senator. Would our friend John Anderson please rise in the gallery if you are able? John, thank you so much and welcome to your Capitol. We are honored to have you here and hope that this won't be the last time that you decide to come and visit with us. We are proud of your leadership on the private sector and your construction work and wish you nothing but the best in that work. And I know the junior senator from Virginia Beach and the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, are both very proud to have you as a constituent, both in your personal and your business capacity. So please come back and visit us here often. And I would ask everyone to please join me to extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to John Anderson. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Senator. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Doing great.
I rise for an introduction.
Thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning in the gallery, we have a young gentleman who I believe has been introduced to some of you already. He made the rounds, and I saw several of my colleagues who had met him and complimented me on what an amazing young man he is, and I wish that I could take any credit for that, but I can't. He is here visiting from Middleburg. His name is McLean Conlon. His immediate goal, and you know this if you've met him, is to be part of the PAGE program next year, and he has aspirations to serve our state either as a judge or as an elected official. He comes from 3 generations of Conlons that have served on the bench. He is on the speech and debate team and won 3rd place out of 25 competitors with a speech on the opioid crisis. He has visited 40 states in 14 months. It's impressive. And he is happy to be shadowing me today, and I won't be moving that fast today. So, Mr. President, I ask that you extend to him the very warm welcome of the Senate, and I forgot to mention that he is homeschooled and is getting a wonderful education with us today. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Would our leader, McLean Conlon, please rise in the gallery if you're able? McLean, you deserve this round of applause that you're about to get. McLean, it's so great to see you. Thank you for your work and your leadership. And Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel, speaks so highly of all that you're doing. We know that you're going to do extraordinary things here in Virginia and around the country, and you're off to a phenomenal start. So keep going, listen to your parents, and making sure that you're dreaming big and continuing to work hard, because we know good things are going to happen for you. So I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our young leader, McLean Conlon. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for the purposes of the introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, we have a group of individuals in the gallery who are visiting us from Serbia. Mr. President, they are all members of Parliament. They represent, I believe, 3 different parties in Parliament. Mr. President, there are 250 members of the Serbian Parliament, and they, just like us, have their own thoughts and views and are interested to be with us during the last week of our legislative process, which has lent lots of drama and action for them to review. So, Mr. President, if you could offer them the warm welcome of the Senate and thank them for visiting with us from Serbia.
I thank the senator. Would our friends from the Serbian Parliament in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. It is an honor to have dignitaries like you to come to the Capitol, and we are appreciative of your leadership in Serbia and for your thoughtful engagement here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the United States of America. The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal, said it best. We here will have a lot going on over the next couple of weeks, but we are grateful to have leaders like you to join us during that process. So we would ask everybody please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from the Serbian Parliament. Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black. Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Mr. President, yesterday we introduced the Loudoun homeschoolers. I believe that the green sheet, there was a little bit of a mix-up, and that was from yesterday.
I see. Got it.
Once again, thank you very much for the introduction yesterday.
Well, I thank the senator. We were very happy and proud to have him with us. Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senator from Williamsburg and myself, please extend a warm welcome of the Senate to a group of students who are here from Hampton University to lobby on behalf of issues of importance to higher education, specifically for Hampton University. They are accompanied by the SGA President, Jordan McKinney, and Bill Thomas, who is the Vice President for Governmental Relations. Please extend to them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our leaders from Hampton University please rise in the gallery if you are able? I see a lot of pirates here today. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are very proud of Hampton University. It's an incredible institution of higher learning, really a leader in Virginia, around the country, and around the world. You've produced incredible leaders throughout your history, and we give our thanks to Bill. Thanks for your leadership over so many years, and to Dr. Harvey, who has stood out as a beacon in this Commonwealth for many, many years. I know that Senator Locke, of course, is a graduate and professor there at Hampton, and she is very proud of each one of you, as we all are. So I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our great leaders from Hampton University. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of 2 introductions.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
And nice haircut, by the way. In the gallery today, I have a very special guest with us today, Julianne Condrey. Now, Julianne Condrey is a very special type person because she kept me together for 2.5 years as my legislative aide. And anybody that has to work with me knows that's a full-time job. Everybody's seconding that behind me. So she's just an incredible person. She is a strong woman of faith and just really has her act together. I'm just so proud of her, and it was such an honor to have her help with me for 2.5 years. She finally came to her senses, Mr. President, and went back to the private sector where she is living she looks much more rested today, Mr. President. So I would ask, Mr. President, that we extend the warm welcome of the Senate to my dear friend and former aide, Julianne Condrey.
I thank the senator. Would our friend Julianne Condrey please rise in the gallery? Julianne, thank you once again for being with us, both in your capacity, the Conservative Women's Network, but also as former LA to Senator Chase. We are grateful to have you back and for the work that you did for Senator Chase and really for all Virginians. Thank you for your leadership in the public and the private sector. It makes a difference to have wonderful people who step up to serve in multiple capacities. So we are grateful to you. You, of course, are welcome back here anytime as a member of this family, and I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Julianne Condry. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one more presentation or one more introduction, and that is to Thomas Hupp. Mr. President, Thomas Hupp is also a very good dear friend. He is a VMI cadet. I've watched him grow up in Chesterfield County since he was a baby, know his family very well, and he has just grown up into a fine young man. And I'm just so proud of him today and just really appreciate him coming by my office today and spending some quality time with him and just appreciate him being here today. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the Senator. Would our leader, Thomas Hupp, please rise in the gallery? I think she made me slip. We're not going to put your baby pictures up on the video. But Thomas, thank you so much for being here once again, and congratulations for all that you're doing at VMI. It's a phenomenal institution, and I know that Senator Chase and your family and hers are deeply proud of you, as we all are, and thank you for your service. And she's thinking about you is when you were young, and I'm sure she's looking at you now and beaming with pride about the man that you've become. So I would ask everyone please join me and extend the warmest welcome to our leader, Thomas Hupp. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour?
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, today is Hokie Day in the Capitol. And Mr. President, the 21st annual Hokie Day. I bet you didn't know it was that. But Mr. President, there's a number of Hokies, undergraduates and graduates, students at the university here promoting issues important to higher education. Students representing 8 of the 9 colleges at Virginia Tech. And Mr. President, I could go on and on about how proud we are of Virginia Tech. It's academic institutions, both undergraduate and graduate programs. It's research and the innovations coming from that research and the impact of Virginia Tech on the economy of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, Mr. President, I would ask you to give a warm welcome to our Hokies from all over the Commonwealth who are joining us today.
I thank the
Let's go Hokies!
I thank the Senator. Would our friends and leaders from Virginia Tech here for Hokie Day please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. It is wonderful to see great Virginia Tech leaders here in the Capitol. We are proud of each one of you. We're proud of your great university and all that's meant for Virginia, for the nation, and for the world. We're proud to celebrate the 21st annual Hokie Day and look forward to many, many more to come. I know that the Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, is deeply proud of all that you do. And so continue in that great Hokie spirit. You're going to do wonderful things. And I would ask everyone to please join me in saying, go Hokies. Go Hokies. All right. Thank you. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, sitting in our gallery right now is a group of awesome ladies, and to distinguish them, they are wearing black with a yellow rose. But actually, they're here because they're more than just the black dresses and yellow roses. They are representative of 100-plus black women across the nation, and it's an organization that really foster social action and the ability to build up people wherever they might find them. They're great advocates. They're professionals, and they come from all walks of life. And they're here today to advocate for so those who are in need of a voice, an advocate in social justice and economic development, and all the things that are important to improve the quality of life for us here in Virginia. So, Mr. President, I would ask you to please give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator, and I don't even have to tell you to stand. You're such leaders. You're already standing in the gallery. We want to welcome our leaders from the National Coalition of 100-plus Black women. Thank you all so much for what you do and have done over many years to make this Commonwealth fairer, more just, a place of more opportunity for everyone, no matter the color of their skin, who they love, what God they pray to, what zip code they live in. You make sure that there's opportunity for all. And so I'm grateful to you. I always like to say I was raised by a strong woman. I am married to one, and now we are raising one in our 7-year-old. And this is a perfect example of what they can become when they adhere to our highest values, when they fight for others, and when they stand as a sterling example of who we are when we are at our best. So we thank you. We love you all. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our phenomenal leaders from the National Coalition of 100-plus Black women. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Tuesday, February 12, 2019. Unfinished business, Senate Bill 1060.
Mr. President, could that bill go by temporarily?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1060 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 1061.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the bill pass, and it's just speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, as the bill went to the House, this dealt with real estate agents and independent contractors, and we found within 17 lines that the code mistakenly said independent contracts, so it was a grammatical fix and a grammatical change, so I move we accept the substitute and pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1061? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1153 is passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House amendments just by way of explanation. This bill went over in a slightly different form. We have the various stakeholders who have continued working on it, and the stakeholders in the industry and local government have made some minor tweaks, but basically the House version better reflects what all parties want done. So I recommend that we accept the House amendments. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1153? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1295 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Mr. President, on 1295, I ask you to accept the Senate amendments, the House amendment, brother.
Thanks, Senator. Want to speak to it?
Yeah. Which one is that? Yes, Mr. President. This amendment strikes line 1824 and adds more broader language in giving the school board latitude in implementing this policy. I ask you to approve pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1295? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1298 is passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that we concur with the House amendment. And speaking to that measure,
Senator, you have the floor.
This is just a one-word change that was adopted in the House, and it doesn't change the meaning of the bill. Makes it functional. This is the bill that will provide for collection of data related to alternative educational programs.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1298? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1314 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House substitute. And speaking to that,
thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill deals primarily with children who are admitted to the Commonwealth, the Children's Institute in Stanton, operated by the Department of Behavioral Health. The House substitute doesn't change the intent of the bill as far as making sure that these children don't have a lapse in their educational program due to inability sometime to get parental permission. What it does do is make sure it's clear and restricted only to the Commonwealth Center, so it's a facility operated by the Department of Behavioral Health. So I urge you to support the House substitute.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1314? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1448 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House substitute.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
What Senate Bill 1448 was designed to do as a recommendation from the Virginia Housing Commission was to eliminate the confusion between an order of possession and a writ of possession by renaming the writ of possession as a writ of eviction. And the House substitute makes 3 technical changes to the bill. One section changes added to the bill an order of possession and a writ of eviction to the list in keeping with the overall purpose of the bill. Another section corrects a grammatical error. And a final section simply says that execution of a writ of eviction to be consistent with the other changes that were made throughout the bill. So again, I move that we concur with the House substitute.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1448? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Returning to page 1, Senate Bill 1060 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the Senate substitute.
The House substitute?
Yes. House substitute.
No, sure. Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This allows lottery winners can opt out of having their names released when they're winning to exceed $10 million. Before, just opt out altogether, whether it's $1 million, $500 million. But this way now we're saying that you have to exceed over $10 million in order to have your name opt out of it. I move that we accept the House substitute.
Let's vote. Is everybody ready to vote? We'll do that one more time. Does any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1060? Seeing none, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move all the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar in their amendable form that are found on pages 4 through 11, including House Bill 1621 through House Bill 2758, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a House bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 4 through 11, House Bill 1621 through House Bill 2758, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1621, reported for the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1696, reported for the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Okay, Senator from Bass, Senator Deeds.
Could House Bill 1696 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1696 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 1715, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1779, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1815, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute. Speaking of that.
Thank you, Senator.
I don't need
to. Want to move it?
I move the substitute.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
House Bill 1819, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 1839, reported for the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I move the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1917, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves. Thank the
For Senator Stanley, I would move the committee amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1918, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Mr. President, I would move the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
House Bill 1933, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
House Bill 1981, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 2014, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
House Bill 2017, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would waive the reading of the floor amendment. Speaking of that.
You can just waive it. Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
The floor amendment basically is going to allow this bill to go to conference at the permission of the senator from Southern Fairfax and the House patron. They've agreed that they need to get to conference on it. So we're just striking one line, putting in another, and that'll get it to conference. And I'd ask it move.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted.
House Bill 2213, reported for the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to waive reading of the floor substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the floor substitute and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill came through the Rehab Committee last week, and very quickly, and the chairman looked at me and asked me if it was all good. I said yes, and I looked at it and realized it wasn't. I went back, and basically the difference in the floor substitute and the main bill is the floor sub makes it clear that it takes pretrial officers out of the bill so that pretrial officers don't get access to inmates' medical records before they've been convicted. You know, when you've just been accused of something, you shouldn't waive your right you should be able to have control over when somebody looks at your medical records. This takes care of that. The patron's okay with it. I've talked to a few people on the side. I think it's good to go now as amended, and I would move we adopt the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted.
House Bill 2256, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
And I've moved the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 2341, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 2499, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 2521, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendments.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
I would move the amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
House Bill 2560, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 2689, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
I'd move the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2758, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
I would move the committee amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. The question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? That is all bills except for House Bill 1696. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 4, House Bill 1698. 96, I'm sorry.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass. And speaking to that,
Senator, you have the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does, oddly enough, is it allows you to shoot a nuisance animal from your vehicle on your own property. And I had to ask the question as well, is it now unlawful to do that? And it is. If you are on your own property, you may not shoot a coyote or something like that from your vehicle. And that's what this bill allows you to do.
Mr. President.
Hey, Senator from Bass, Senator Deeds.
Would the gentleman yield for a few questions?
Senator, yield for questions.
Yeah. No. Yes. Yes, Mr.
Gentleman yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, could the gentleman enlighten me as to any instances in the history of the Commonwealth where a landowner who is legitimately on his property shooting a nuisance animal from his vehicle has been ticketed for such an offense?
Senator has the floor.
I have absolutely no idea, Mr. President. I cannot answer that question.
Mr. President.
Further question. Senator has the floor.
Is there any other instance in the code where one can legitimately shoot a weapon, a gun, from an automobile?
Senator has the floor.
Well, again, Mr. President, I'm not an expert in this field, but I suspect you could shoot a weapon from your vehicle if you were shooting it at a target or a tree or something inanimate.
Further question?
I don't, Mr. President, I don't think that's the case. And just speaking to it briefly.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I live out in the country, and I expect people have been shooting nuisance animals as they need to since the beginning of time. But this is the first time right now. It's a misdemeanor to shoot a weapon from a vehicle. It's a misdemeanor to shoot a weapon into a house. It's a misdemeanor to shoot a weapon into a car. This is the first time we've made it lawful activity to shoot from a motor vehicle, and I don't think that's good policy.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake rise?
Yes, I would ask the senator from Spotsylvania or King George if he would rise for a question.
Senator rise for a question.
King George.
Senator rise, you have the floor.
Does the senator happen to know if there are any people, perhaps the patron of the bill, who are currently facing charges for committing this offense?
Senator has the floor.
Again, Mr. President, I have no earthly idea. It's Mr. President, if no one else wishes to speak.
What purpose, Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden rise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would the senator from Bath yield for a question?
Senator yield?
Most assuredly.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, would the senator respond to the issue of, wouldn't it be possible if one was driving in one's car and took the time to get out of the vehicle to do the shooting that the varmint might get away?
That's absolutely, Mr. President, I'd say to the gentleman, that's absolutely the case, but that's also the case for people who want to shoot deer from vehicles. And that's against the law. There's reason for that. It's an unfair advantage for the deer, I guess, but I just think it's I'm not convinced it's good policy to allow the discharge of a firearm from an automobile.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators other than the patron wish to be heard on House Bill 1696? Seeing none, Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to clarify one thing. I'm not the patron. But as the chairman of the committee, I feel compelled to help the patron as much as possible. And just to clarify one thing, Mr. President, for the members, it's this: you can't do this out from a public road or something. This is just if you're in a field that you own or something, you can actually shoot the nuisance species, and a deer is not a nuisance species, although some people may think it is. I think it's really targeted at coyotes and such because they're having a real hard time with them in certain parts of the state.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1696 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. House Bill 1696 passes.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 2170, a bill relating to false caller identification information penalty. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the adoption of the floor amendment and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this was the prank call legislation that we spent a fair amount of time on yesterday. And my amendment simply takes the word "or" and replaces it with the word "and," which I think more accurately gets at the problem that the gentleman from Harrisonburg spoke to, where somebody is basically giving a fake phone message on your phone and causing your phone to ring. Otherwise, it preserves the intent of the bill, but I think it tightens it up and does not criminalize conduct, which frankly should not be criminal. So I ask that we agree to the amendment.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. This does not permit the shooting of spoof callers from an occupied vehicle. But this bill was amply debated yesterday, and I do believe that the floor amendment that was just adopted should satisfy the concerns of some of those who voted against this bill yesterday.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2170? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2170 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0. Rule 36-1.
Ayes 39, no 0. Rule 36-1. House Bill 2170 passes.
House Bill 2228, a bill relating to composition of the boards of nursing and psychology, health regulatory boards, staggered terms. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speak in the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, in committee we had questions about how the stagger would work, and in particular there was enactment clauses that dealt with the staggering terms, not just of the two mentioned in the title, but also the Board of Dentistry, long-term care, medicine, and veterinary medicine. After reviewing those staggered terms, I think they are in a position that they were presented, and I hope that the bill will pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2228? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2228 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 2228 passes.
House Bill 1613, a bill relating to penalty for wanton waste. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the bill pass in speaking to this.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is not my bill either, but I'm going to try to present it. Mr. President, what this does is it increases the penalty for one who would shoot game and not make a reasonable effort to retrieve it. Otherwise, that's considered wanton waste, and so it would move from a Class 3 misdemeanor to a Class 2 misdemeanor, which Class 3 has no jailable offense. It's a finable offense. A Class 2 actually does have up to 6 months in jail. But I think it's incumbent upon people who hunt to try to retrieve the game that they hunt, and that's what this bill seeks to do.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Chairman.
The Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you. I just have never heard of the term wanton waste before. I've heard of wanton Chinese cookies, and I've heard of wanton women, but I'm just curious as to what is wanton waste.
The Senator rise for a question.
I'm not sure if I should respond to this, Mr. President. Mr. President, wanton is actually a legal term of art, and it is, a great example is somebody who has wanton disregard for others, just a complete and absolute disregard. In this case, it's a person who would be hunting, they'd shoot a deer, the deer would run 100 yards or 200 or whatever, and because they were lazy or whatever reason, they didn't want to take the time to go try to find that animal and retrieve it and finish the whole process.
I thank the gentleman.
Yeah,
thank the senator. First, the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Just what would the senator from King George yield for a question?
Senator, yield for a question.
what happens if this animal who's able to run a couple hundred yards can't be found?
Mr. President, you would have to make a reasonable effort to find it. It is not an absolute, it's not a per se statute. It's just you have to make a reasonable effort. I'm not a deer hunter, but those that do actually spend a great deal of time tracking their game in the woods after they've hunted it. And sometimes I know people who've taken all night looking for an animal that they've shot.
Well,
further question?
Mr. President, at what point does it go from just being waste to wanton waste?
Senator has the floor.
He's got me on that one, Mr. President. I give up.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1613?
Mr.
Senator from
President.
Bass, Senator Deeds.
And I apologize for rising on this. I mean, I grew up hunting, and I know a lot of people that deer hunt, and losing a deer in the brush is a pretty easy thing to do. But I know most people that I know would spend hours tracking that deer before they'd let it go to waste. And I just, again, this is a matter of policy. I don't know why we want to put somebody in jail who doesn't find their game.
The question is, shall House Bill 1613 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. House Bill 1613 passes.
House Bill 1625, a bill relating to animal care, adequate shelter, adverse weather conditions, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with the substitute.
Mr. President.
Senator from Northern Chesapeake. Senator
Let me go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1625 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1642, a bill relating to Department of Corrections, restrictive housing, data collection, and reporting report. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the committee substitute. And speaking of that,
thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this just conforms 1642 to Senator Saslaw's Bill 1777 that had to do with reporting of statistics with regard to and who they go to from the Department of Corrections.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say
Mr.
aye.
President.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Abbott.
Would the senator from Spotsylvania just yield for a question briefly?
Well, Senator Yield?
Sure.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
I would ask the senator, before it was conformed, what was the differences between the original bill and Senator Saslaw's bill?
Senator, has the floor.
I believe there was discussion, and some of the other committee members can chime in from Senator Saslaw's bill, that they were talking about the use of solitary confinement or restrictive housing, and I think that was the main bone of contention on that, and that's it.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
With that adoption, Mr. President, I think I've pretty much explained what the bill did in the substitute. I'd move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1642? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1642 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 1642 passes.
House Bill 1657, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, annual mixed beverage performing arts facility license. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of many Christmas tree bills that we have allowed to happen throughout the time I've been chairman of Rehab and Social Services and when the senator from Virginia Beach was. But as most know, we have put a letter in to Travis over at ABC, and they're going to take that issue up under a licensing study to try to prevent these from happening in the past. But this just creates an annual mixed beverage performing arts license in the historical district of the town of Bridgewater, and capacity in excess of 100 patrons, and that's what the bill does. Ask its passage.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1657? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1657 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. House Bill 1657 passes.
House Bill 1770, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, Sunday store hours, distiller commission, reported for the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendments.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. With those amendments, this has caused the bill to conform to my bill that we passed out of here 32-7, which would allow distillers the opportunity to earn 20% with opening store hours at 10 a.m. on Sunday. This will get us into conference and where we can get it worked out from there.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1770? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1770 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 7.
Ayes 33, noes 7. House Bill 1770 passes.
House Bill 1871, a bill relating to Virginia Initiative for Employment, Not Welfare, Transitional Child Care, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask passage of the bill. This bill is identical to a bill that passed out of this chamber 38-1, Senator Favola's bill, that allowed VIEW participants whose temporary assistance for needy families, TANF financial assistance, is terminated to receive child care assistance for up to 12 months after termination. And it goes on to explain a little more of it, but we've heard the bill once, and I'd ask that it pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1871? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1871 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. House Bill 1871 passes.
House Bill 1905, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, mixed beverage referendum exception, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I'd ask the bill pass, and speaking to that.
Senator, has the floor.
This is another Christmas tree bill that's a referendum for liquor by the drink. It's very specific. It comes from Delegate Hurst District. If you look at the description, I can go through that, but we've done a few of these in Southwest Virginia where the liquor by the drink is not permitted, and this would allow them the opportunity to do that.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1905? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1905 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 7.
Ayes 32, noes 7. House Bill 1905 passes.
House Bill 1935, a bill relating to inmate workforce's eligibility for voluntary participation, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask the bill pass, and speaking to that.
Senator, has the floor.
This is a bill that just clarifies the eligibility for volunteer participation in an inmate workforce program within our jails with the approval of and under the supervision of the sheriff or his designee. With that, Mr. President, I ask the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1935? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1935 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1935 passes.
House Bill 2269, a bill relating to a prohibition on participation by Commonwealth in any regional transportation sector emissions program. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass and speaking to it.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, as the title suggests, this bill just prohibits the governor or any state agency from enrolling the Commonwealth in any regional transportation cap and trade program without a 2/3 majority vote of the General Assembly approving that.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2269? Seeing none, the question is, Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, this is truly an outrageous bill. It's almost as bad as willful and wanton, by the way, go together. Willful and wanton waste, or maybe shooting coyotes or something from a car. But what we're trying to do is, in this bill, is to handicap any executive, governor, any executive in Virginia who's entering into some agreement with other states regarding transportation issues. And without even knowing what we're talking about. It's just a blanket, strip the governor of some authority that he has by the Constitution. I think this has gone way beyond the pale. 98% of all scientists think that global warming actually exists. And sometimes these regional transportation issues may be important to the Commonwealth. So I think we should, without even knowing what these future transportation emissions issues may be, I think we're going way beyond what this General Assembly ought to be doing. I urge the body to vote no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. What purpose, Senator from Rockingham? Senator Obenchain, rise.
Mr. President, I rise to speak in favor of this bill. Mr. President, I don't know what kind of initiatives might be offered either. But you know what? I've seen a couple over the course of the past week or two that have received a great deal of attention concerning not just regional, but international and national transportation issues. It's something called the Green New Deal. And if this is a step in the direction of preventing Virginia from joining some crazy, loony idea like banning airplanes, I'm all for it.
For what purpose does Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak in favor of the Green New Deal. No, I'm
I'd like to send you on the floor.
I speak against the bill. Ladies and gentlemen, this actually is not a new concept. We've seen this bill many times. But let me talk a little bit about what the effects might be. Those of us that live in Northern Virginia live in what's called a non-attainment area, which doesn't mean that we don't attain educational or academic perspectives. It means that the air quality is not up to the sufficient levels that you would expect. And one of the byproducts of that is that we have to have our emissions checked on our vehicles on a regular basis. And we've been living with that regime for pretty much the last 35, 40 years. Now, if you read this strictly, and I'm one of those people, I read bills and I believe what they say, we would not be able to participate in the very programs that try and limit air pollution currently in our community. So, again, I understand this is a brochure bill. I get it. You'll vote for it. I'll vote against it. But recognize that we've been participating in these programs dating back to Richard Nixon. And in actuality, it's had a bipartisan basis, and I think most people are pretty happy with it. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2269? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2269 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 20.
Ayes 20, noes 20. The chair votes no. The bill fails.
House Bill 2438, a bill relating to juvenile correctional officers training standards, reported for the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real quickly, this looks like a big, long floor amendment. It's actually the same bill. The only thing different than the original that came through committee is we missed striking out the director of the Department of Juvenile Justice. This is a bill. This is a bill to transfer the powers and duties to establish training for our folks who handle juveniles in the corrections.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move passage of the bill. Again, this just transfers the power that was originally under the Department of Criminal Justice Services back to the Department of Juvenile Justice, understanding the compulsory training that must be done in juvenile correction centers from their officers versus DOC is a little bit different, and so they're requesting that that transfer of power and their training go back to Department of Juvenile Justice. That's the bill. Wish it pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2438? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2438 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 2438 passes.
House Bill 2611, a bill relating to Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, prohibition on participation by Commonwealth. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass and speaking to it.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, somewhat like the HB 2269, this would prevent the governor or state agencies in enrolling us in a cap and trade program that would be other than a transportation cap and trade program without a 2/3 supermajority vote of the General Assembly.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose, Senator from Rockingham? Senator
Let's go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 2611 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2634, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control local referendums. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask for passage of the bill, and speaking of that.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact same bill that we passed out of here, 23-17, that would make everything that's dry in the Commonwealth wet, but will still allow for a referendum for counties if they really wanted to stay dry to do that. This would help us expand ABC and other parts of the state to take advantage of the taxing ability we have to raise some money. That's the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2634? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2634 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 14.
Ayes 26, noes 14. House Bill 2634 passes.
House Bill 2745, a bill relating to dangerous dogs, deferral of proceedings. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass and speaking to it.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this actually gives a dangerous dog a second chance at life. It's a good bill, and my friend from Franklin will like it. There are cases.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslow.
Would the senator from King George yield for a question?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Reluctantly.
Under the bill we previously passed, can this be shot from your car?
I can state affirmatively no.
Senator has the floor.
Although I can tell you, Mr. President, we'd need to do a better better job of getting rid of these bills in the Ag Committee, so I don't have to discuss them so much on the floor. Mr. President, there's a procedure dealing with dangerous dogs if they bite somebody, and this actually gives a court the opportunity to take that charge under advisement, just like we do for people, and put that dog and the owner on terms and see if they can't work it out. So I hope we'll pass the bill.
Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2745? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2745 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. House Bill 2745 passes.
House Bill 2796, a bill relating to watercraft, transfer by operation of law, transfer on death. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Move the bill pass, Mr. President, and speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank God this isn't a dog bill. Mr. President, this just simply allows the executor of an estate to transfer the title of a watercraft upon death without having to go back and retitle it and go through that extra steps. Very simple measure to aid folks in the administration of estates.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 2796? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2796 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 2796 passes.
Uncontested calendar has bills
President.
on.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having an epiphany, if we could return to page 15 of the calendar. Having voted on the prevailing side of House Bill 2269, I would ask you to reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2269 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having been previously explained, I would move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House Bill 2269 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 2269 passes.
Uncontested calendar has bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move that all of the House bills on the first reading, both the uncontested and regular calendar, including all House bills on pages 17 through 24, including House Bill 1675 through House Bill 2748, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills of the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 17 through 24, House Bill 1675 through House Bill 2748, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would now ask all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Supplemental calendar for Tuesday, February the 12th, 2019. Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 1372 passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to respectfully request that the Senate accept the House substitute. And speaking to that bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, House Bill 1372 is the tax reformation bill that we spent a considerable period of time on yesterday. We had the House bill that was before us, and the Senate bill has been conformed to what we voted out yesterday with an 80% vote. I do know, Mr. President, that there has been some ongoing discussion about a missive that was suggested by the Commonwealth Institute. It has been brought to my attention that the analysis and numbers recited in the Commonwealth Institute's memo are completely inaccurate. In fact, a very analytical member of the House of Delegates on Friday asked for a detailed explanation on each and every recitation of the impact of the taxes, particularly as it related to the lower income. Asked again yesterday, and for somehow it has gotten lost in cyberspace or in the mail. There hadn't been a response. And so I would respectfully ask that everyone support House Bill 1372. You may recall that we adopted some proposed language that Delegate Watts had been working on for some period of time that made I think, a fairer distribution of tax benefits.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Alexandria? Senator Eben rise.
To ask the Senator from James City County if he'd yield for a question.
Senator yield.
Yes, sir.
And Senator, you have the floor.
I tell the Senator I'm happy to vote with his recommendation. I would just like to know what the difference was with the House. Did they take off the emergency clause, or is there some other difference?
The House had varying discussions yesterday, but the House bill does have an emergency clause on it. When it was first put to record by the body, to vote by the body, they did not get the requisite 80%. They took a brief recess, and like I had on the emissions bill, they had an epiphany and were able to come about and report the bill consistent with what I had related to the Senate. And both of the bills are now conformed, consistent with the tax relief that I recited and with the emergency clause, sir.
I thank the Senator.
Thanks, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1372? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1372, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The Senate concurs with the House substitute. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Inquire of the clerk. Does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For what purpose, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the challenge was given by the gentlelady from Petersburg last week about highlighting heroes in our community for Black History Month. And I wanted to tell you the story of Stanley Smith of Fairfax City. Stanley Smith was actually born in Oakton, which is a community a couple miles north of Fairfax City. He graduated from Louise Archer Elementary School and went to high school at Manassas Industrial School because Fairfax High School was not yet integrated. This was in the 1940s. He tried out for the Brooklyn Dodgers, did not make the team, so he did not go on to become the next Jackie Robinson, but instead moved back home and bought a piece of land on School Street in what was then the town of Fairfax. He became a home builder, a very successful general contractor, and then in the 1950s, he was one of the plaintiffs that sued the Fairfax County Public Schools in order to integrate the schools. His daughter, Caroline Smith, was the first African-American child to enter the Fairfax County Public School system. She attended Sidney Lanier Middle School, which, by the way, has 3 alumni on the floor of this body between Senator Stanley, Senator Wagner, and myself. In 1964. She went on to attend Fairfax High School and integrated Fairfax High School in the 1960s. Stanley Smith went on to have, I believe, and I didn't have this in my notes, but at least 12 children. I knew them very well. His younger boys played sports at Fairfax High School with myself. His son, Jeff, was the best youth soccer player I've ever seen. And I also played football with his son, Frankie. And I knew his youngest daughter, Patrice. And very close family. I knew them very well. They lived down about a couple blocks down Chambers Road from my family. In the late 1990s, I was a new city council member. And that area was a target for redevelopment, and a lot of sort of very fancy homes went up, and people sold their land, and Mr. Smith would not sell his land. And there was a redevelopment proposal, so as a young city councilman, I ended up knocking on his door and asking what he thought about the development, and he said he was all for it because he felt like it would make his land more valuable. And about 2 years later, he sold, and he was absolutely right. He probably got double the price the other folks did. But he was a good man, a great man. He raised a great family. I saw Mrs. Caroline Smith at a church service a few weeks ago, and our families have been very close for years. And again, I see I know at least one of his sons is still a deputy sheriff in Fairfax County. So, you know, the heroes are amongst us. And when Stanley Smith died a few years ago, we passed a memorial resolution in this body. And I was glad that the gentlelady from Petersburg caused me to bring him to your attention today. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose the senator from Northwestern Fairfax? Senator Boysko rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, in celebration of Black History Month, I'd like to talk about someone that I don't know, but who I greatly admire. It is one of my heroes named Bryan Stevenson, who is still working hard today, but his ancestors were born right here in Caroline County, where they served as slaves. But now he has spent his career primarily in my home state of Alabama, fighting for social justice against mass incarceration, helping hundreds of minors and adults who have been wrongly sentenced to death as the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative. Under his leadership, the EJI has won major legal challenges, eliminating excessive and unfair sentencing, exonerating innocent death row prisoners, confronting the abuse of the incarcerated and the mentally ill, and aiding children who have been prosecuted as adults. Mr. Stevenson has successfully argued several cases in the United States Supreme Court and recently won a historic ruling that mandatory life without parole sentences for all children 17 ages or younger are unconstitutional. Mr. Stevenson and his staff have won reversals, relief, or release for over 115 wrongly condemned prisoners on death row. Mr. Stevenson has initiated major new anti-poverty and anti-discrimination efforts that challenge the legacy of racial inequity in America, including major projects to educate communities about slavery, lynching, and racial segregation. Mr. Stevenson's work fighting poverty and challenging racial discrimination in the criminal justice system has won him numerous awards, including the prestigious MacArthur Foundation Genius Prize. He's worked to bring these issues to the public eye in his book that I really was touched by called Just Mercy, which I highly recommend everybody in this body read, sharing personal stories of those who have been treated unjustly in our prison and judicial system, documenting the 30-plus years of his work to challenge the system. Here in Virginia, those of us right here in this room have been working to address the same issues surrounding that disenfranchisement, working to address mental illness and the school-to-pipeline prison and judicial reform. And, you know, today it feels very fitting to recognize the work that Bryan Stevenson has done as we celebrate Black History Month. Thank you so much.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, Senator from King George? Senator Stewart, rise.
Mr. President, may we return to the morning hour?
Without objection, we'll return to the morning hour.
Mr. President, I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, today in the gallery we have a constituent of mine, Louise Hackman, and she's the program director for Academic Year in America. Accompanying her are students from Georgia, and that's the country, not the state, Brazil, Ukraine, and Germany. And the program brings students ages 15 to 18 to America to attend a school year at a local high school and give the students a chance to experience American life. These children, I shouldn't say children, these young people are attending high school in the Fredericksburg area and are interested in learning more about the American political process. And so, Mr. President, I ask you give them the warm welcome of the Senate. They are a lot of folks, and the names are difficult, and I don't want to embarrass myself. So I would just ask you give the whole group the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Louise Hackman and our friends from Academic Year in America please rise in the gallery if you are able? Okay. All right. Maybe they were here. Well, thank you all so much for visiting us here in the Senate and the Capitol. We were honored to have you, and let's give them a warm round of applause. Any other senator want to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Senator from Portsmouth, Senator
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a green sheet, but I noticed in the gallery that I have two constituents, and I would like to have them introduced. Seated in the gallery is, of course, Ricky Sykes, who is president of the Democratic Committee in Franklin, and also Councilman Greg McLemore. I would appreciate it if you would extend to them the very warm wishes of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends Ricky Sykes and Councilman Greg McLemore please rise in the gallery if you are able? Ricky, Councilmember, thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for the great work that you do in Franklin and throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are very proud of you and grateful to have you here as leaders and examples for every single one of us. And I know the senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas, also raves about the both of you and how you make this Commonwealth a better, more fair place for all of us. So I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests. Any other senator want to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Seeing none, for what purpose, Senator from James City County, Senator Norman rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for a point of personal privilege.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I also want to respond to the invitation from the gentlelady from Petersburg. One of the opportunities that I have been given in life is to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees for the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. And the motto of that foundation is order that the future may learn from the past. And I think that we can collectively and individually look at historical events and individuals in the past that provide some guidance for the future. One of the privileges serving in this chamber is the opportunity to work alongside some extraordinary individuals who have made history. Like many of you on this floor, I had the honor of serving with a lady who was a true pioneer in the legislative process of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that was a former Senator Yvonne Miller. Now, I will say this up front. Yvonne did not embrace me with enormous affection because frequently I was on the other side of issues from her. But in spite of that tension, I always had enormous admiration for her, and I would like to share with this body a few minutes why. When she won election to represent the city of Norfolk in 1983, Yvonne Miller became the first African-American woman to serve in the House of Delegates of Virginia. 4 short years later, she was elected to the Senate of Virginia and became the first African-American woman to serve in the Senate of Virginia. A lot of times when first occur today, we usually congratulate ourselves on how enlightened and inclusive we are. When Yvonne Miller achieved her first, it was a culmination of decades of hard work, dedication, and sheer determination. For Senator Miller, being first wasn't nearly as important as being effective. As anyone who served with her knows that Yvonne Miller and something that she had was working towards to accomplish for her constituents, you did not want to get in the path of that because that was a perilous position to take. What she may have lacked in height, she was more than offset in her fierce force of will. Her twin passions, which were known by all of us who served with her, were children and education. a teacher who began her career as an educator in what was then segregated public schools of Norfolk, she never, and I mean never, lost her love for children or a belief that education was essential to the mind and spirit of all children. I remember back in 1993, I think it was, if I can remember back that far, I was down at Jamestown Settlement because I was serving on the Jamestown-Yorktown Foundation at that time. And then Governor Wilder came and dedicated a historical monument at Jamestown commemorating the arrival of the first African Americans. And even though they had landed temporarily in Norfolk near Senator Locke's position, that they ultimately came to Jamestown. And I think anyone that understands history realizes that, in fact, while they may have been characterized as indentured servants, they were twice sold. But I would suggest to you, Governor Wilder was there, and there were only 2 legislators that appeared on the dedication of that historical marker. And Senator Yvonne Miller was one. And it was a very momentous day. I would further say we saw that dedication to children and education, and she saw that historical marker as an extension of her effort to educate Virginians. And I would say Senator Miller was always a favorite of the pages. And if you remember, she doted on them constantly. In one of her last sessions, the pages actually recognized her to read the page resolution. Those who were here might remember the resolution because it was nicknamed the Glorious Resolution. The Glorious Resolution, or the Gorgeous Resolution. She always referred to the young people, particularly our young lady pages, that they were gorgeous. And she meant it with sincerity, even though she repeated it over and over. And every time she said gorgeous, it was with an enthusiasm that could only come from a woman who knew how to read in a manner that made every word exciting. So I say today, in keeping with the spirit of African American History Month, I want to acknowledge and remember a historical and actually an iconic figure with whom I was privileged to serve, even though she disagreed with me, Senator Yvonne Miller, who truly was a pioneer in the legislative process of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Following the gentlelady from Petersburg's invitation a couple of days ago, I wanted to introduce everybody to somebody else. Edward William Brooke III. Edward William Brooke III was born October 26, 1919 in Washington, D.C. He was raised in a middle-class section of the city, attended Dunbar High School. After graduating in 1936, he enrolled in Howard University, where he first considered medicine but ended up studying social studies and political science. Brooke graduated in 1941 and enlisted in the U.S. Army, immediately following the attack on Pearl Harbor. Brooke was commissioned as an officer, served 5 years in the Army, saw combat in Italy, World War II, as a member of the segregated 366 Infantry Regiment, here in the Bronze Star Medal, and many others. In Italy, Brooke met his future wife, Regina Ferrari Scaroso, with whom he had 2 daughters, Remy and Edwina. Following his discharge, Brooke graduated from Boston University Law School in 1948. One of his famous quotes, I never studied much at Howard, he reflected, but at Boston University, I did not do much else but study. He became the first African American popularly elected to the United States Senate. He represented Massachusetts in the Senate from 1967 to 1979. As serving as chairman of Finance Commission of Boston, Brooke won election as the Massachusetts Attorney General in 1962. In 1966, he defeated Democratic Governor Endicott Peabody in a landslide to win election to the Senate. He became the first African American popularly elected to the United States Senate as a Republican. He represented Massachusetts in the Senate from 1967 to 1979. With that, I wanted to introduce everybody to Edwin William Brooke III, a war hero, a politician.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized?
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, in honor of Black History Month, and in particular, in honor of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, February the 12th, I'd like to draw your attention to two classmates of mine, African Americans at the University of Virginia Law School, who were extraordinary. The first one I want to introduce you to, you probably already know who he is, Jim Benton. Jim Benton was a classmate who was well regarded and was elected treasurer of our class and treasurer of the law school. And when he graduated, he came to Richmond to practice law. And in 1985, when Virginia established the first Court of Appeals of Virginia, he was among the first class to be on the Court of Appeals of Virginia. And he served with great distinction until he retired at the age of 65, much too young. In fact, I told him so just some time ago. Judge Benton was one of the best judges of the Court of Appeals ever, in my humble opinion. And he was very accomplished as a lawyer, extremely erudite in his opinions, very clear, very analytical, and extremely accomplished. And we miss him on the Court of Appeals. He's now retired, and I'm sure he's enjoying his retirement. But I want to bring to your attention Judge James Benton, one of the great Court of Appeals judges of Virginia, a classmate of mine at the University of Virginia Law School, great class, we like to say, of 1970. Another member of my class, another African American who was extremely well regarded, is Elaine Jones. Elaine Jones, again, was well regarded by everybody. And upon graduation in 1970, she received an offer to go with one of the top law firms on Wall Street and make pretty good money and have probably a very lucrative career. She decided, however, to return down that offer on Wall Street to join the NAACP's Legal Defense and Education Fund, where she spent her career. Now, the Legal Defense and Education Fund of the NAACP was headed back in the 50s by Thurgood Marshall, and he represented that fund, the Legal Defense and Education Fund, in the famous Brown versus Board of Education case. We know what happened to Thurgood Marshall, went on to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, Elaine Jones took over eventually that job as being head of the Legal Defense and Education Fund and had an extraordinary career that we're all very, very proud of. In fact, just a few years ago, she was honored here in Richmond at a banquet. And so I want you all to know my good friend, Elaine Jones, a very popular classmate, a very distinguished student at the University of Virginia Law School, and went on to really make us all very, very proud. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Tuesday, February the 12th, the Committee for Courts of Justice and the House Judicial Panel will have a joint meeting immediately upon adjournment of both House and Senate in Committee Room B in Pocahontas to conduct judicial interviews, and the House is in recess until 5. The Joint Commission on Administrative Rules will meet upon adjournment in the old Senate chamber. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will meet immediately upon adjournment in Subcommittee Room 3, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Saslaw, Black, Chase, Cosgrove, Peterson, and Howell. The Committee on Privileges and Elections will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Senate Room 3 in the Capitol. The Committee on Local Government will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment in Senate Room A in Pocahontas. The Finance Subcommittee on Education will meet at 3:30 p.m. Subcommittee Room 1 on the 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Norman, Newman, Howell, Saslaw, Hanger, Ruff, Donovan, and Stewart. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Health will meet at 4 p.m. Subcommittee Room number 2, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Cosgrove, Black, Barker, Lewis, and Suderline. Wednesday, February 13th, the Women's Legislative Roundtable will meet at 8:30, Tidewater Room, 4th floor of the SunTrust Center. The Committee on Finance will meet at 9 a.m., Committee Room B, Pocahontas. The The Republican caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m., Senate Room 2 in the Capitol. The Democratic caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m., Senate Room 1 in the Capitol. And there are two shopping days left.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For what purpose, Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff rise? Okay. Is there any other business come before the Senate? Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, the Republican caucus will meet at 10:45 tomorrow morning with the House Republican caucus. And we'll advise about the location.
Thank the Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. No. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.